Good afternoon, good evening. It's Mikey Wine, aka Gundam Money Works. How you doing, everybody? First, let me apologize for it's literally minutes or let me turn off the volume. I started sneezing, like I had like an allergy attack, so I'm all raspy now. I had to clear everything out. I finally stopped, so I'm good. But anyway, how's it going, everybody? Continuing work on the base for the HWS Hi NU HWS, and I'm going to be doing some plaster molds tonight. I've actually already made some molds, and I think I've secured everything down to the base properly. It was kind of a challenging. I haven't worked with this stuff before, so I was kind of unsure on how to make it stick to the base. So, with the help of a close friend, I think I got it right. Thank you, Angel. Appreciate it. But anyway, what I'm making these molds with is lightweight hydrocal. It is just basically plaster in a powdered form, mixed with some water, and then poured in the mold. And then you can use smaller pieces or some extra powder and stuff to fill in the gaps and stuff like that. So I made several molds. This is one of the smaller ones. I've got a larger mold here. This is one of the bigger rock molds. So I made a couple of these, one or two of these, about 3 or 4 different types, so I could kind of blend the different rock types of rock, the structures and the way they look, a little bit different. Make so it wasn't just one type of smooth rock. So that being said, what I'll do is I got some powder already set up here in my bucket and some water, so I can start mixing this stuff up. And then as soon as I find, where did my spoon go? Oh, there it is. I got it right here. So then I'm going to pour it in here, and if I got any left over, I'll fill up these little tiny molds here and set this aside, and then I'll show you where I'm at so far with the base. So right now, everything's kind of setting and drying, so I can't do a whole lot with the actual base, but I'll show you how I did this. So this is just a little mixing bucket. I'm actually going to turn my main light off, only because this stuff is everything's white. So when you have the bright light on, it just washes everything out. You can't really see anything. So you see I got some powder in the bottom there, and it's roughly just under about 8 ounces. And then I have this little measuring cup of water here. So it's about 50-50 for just pouring molds. If you're going to use it for sticking stuff down or filling in gaps and stuff, you might need it a little bit thicker. But for pouring, you want it to be pretty thin, at least enough so you can just tip it over and easily pour it in, and then it'll flow and fill everything up nicely. So we're going to take our water. I'm going to start with a little bit and just keep adding to it because I don't want to put too much water in here. But since I'm not sure how much it needs for this mold, I didn't put as much powder in as I did the first time. When I made my larger molds, I used about 8 ounces of powder. This is a little bit under that. So I'm just going to keep mixing this up. At first, it's almost like it doesn't want to kind of separate. It doesn't want to mix. It kind of separates. But as you stir it up, it starts to kind of combine and then get a little bit easier to work with. But one thing I did notice is that this stuff starts to set pretty quickly. You don't have a lot of working time with it, so you gotta plan out what you're doing, especially when you're doing large molds or something like that. When I was trying to glue these things down, I used a little bit thicker mixture because I was going to set my molds into it and have them stick, but I put so much down at once, it was almost like they weren't adhering to the ones that had already cured. So, all right, so I got a pretty decent consistency here. It's pretty thin. It's actually probably a little bit thinner than it needs to be, but that's okay because I'm just giving you a demo on how to fill these up. So once you get your consistency down, just take it up and pour it in. This will flow in. This also help get some of the bubbles out. Do it slowly. Help get some of the bubbles out of from underneath those little crevices in the rock mold. So I guess I should tell you what I was trying to create with this. What I'm doing with the Hi NU, I was trying to make an asteroid type base for it. So something that looks like an asteroid. So that's why I'm using these rock molds. I'm kind of combining them together with to make one big surface. So what I've done is I bought it's about a 10-inch plaque that's made for like a clock. So it's round, and I'll show you that in here in a second. So I had just about enough to fill that up. You see how it kind of levels out as this sits. I mean, as we even just talk about it, it's going to start to set. So now that I have everything kind of evenly distributed through the mold here, I can kind of set this aside and then show you where I'm at with the yeah, I broke a spoon. Yeah, that one's not broken. That's a new one, but I did break one. I was trying to stir up some thick stuff, and I heard it crack, and then eventually it just let go altogether. So let me grab my base here. Okay, so here's what I have. A Boston cream pie. No, actually, last week when I was broadcasting, I was actually drilling the hole for this rod. This is just a spare piece that I'm using, so I make sure that I have the spot where I'm going to insert that clear rod to support the kit. So this actually slides out if you rotate this around. Here, I'll just set it flat. I can twist it and actually take this out. Okay. Then I've got, this is the actual rod that I'm going to support the kit with, and I spliced in, excuse me, I spliced in the original connection that goes on the back, and then that will go right down this hole. It's a really good fit. I'm going to lift this slightly so I can kind of twist it. There we go. Once I get it down in there, it fits nicely. We used some 7/16. I think this is 7/16. Yeah, 7/16. Let me see, make sure I'm saying that right. I don't have the package. I got part of it. I'm pretty sure it's a 7/16 aluminum tube, but the inside diameter is 3/8, and it's really a precise fit. It's perfect. So that piece of tube down in there, this just goes right into it like that. So it's actually a really snug fit. I like it a lot because it's not going to move much, and that's what I need, especially with the added weight, because the stand that came with the Hi NU is this guy. That a lot of the new kits, I mean like the NU, the new kits, the Hi NU and the new Verka, they all have this kind of special base that comes with it, but with the added weight of the HWS, the heavy weapon system, it's just too wonky and wobbles around too much. So I knew eventually I was going to have to make a new base for it, especially when getting ready for competition. I wanted to make sure I had something that looked presentable. So eventually when this cures, I'll paint this rock face. It'll look more like an asteroid. I've taped it off. What you can't see is this black is actually gaffer tape. I used masking tape first, went around the base, left about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch lip, so I would have, as I made my pour, it wouldn't want to roll off the edges. It just kind of stayed in the middle. But as it turns out, I kind of used a mixture probably thicker than I wanted to, and that's just my experience, because I don't have any experience using this stuff, so it's really a lot of trial and error. And so I probably could have made it thinner, probably should have made it thinner, but it feels pretty good. It feels like everything is finally starting to set since I wet it down. And then I made a thinner mixture and poured it in between all the seams, because I had several of these. If you look at this mold here, it only covers maybe half of this. So I had to kind of combine these together in pieces to make the entire thing. And then, like I said, poured a thinner mixture between to fill in those gaps. And then, so I guess what I can do too, since I've got this set up, is I can bring the kit over here and kind of place it on there, just the body of it, and the, you know, none of the armor or anything like that I'll have on it, but just to show you how this is going to work. And then I could also make sure that I have the right height, because this slides in, I can actually adjust the height of this up or down depending on, you know, how close I want his feet to dangle. Again, it's not posed or anything, so let me go grab it. So here is, slide this back. Okay. I'm going to turn this on for a bit. It's going to get bright as hell for a second so everybody can see this better. Okay, so here is the Hi NU. And first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take this rod back out because I've got to install it onto his back first. They made this very tricky to kind of hook up. You have to have all these layers together, and then it hooks in and kind of actually holds the back piece in as part of its structure. So that clicks on just like that. I realized I was off camera kind of doing that. So now I've got to get this down in here. And this fits right above. Actually, it would be easier. I just popped off these rear skirts just for a second, and then that will make it quite a bit easier, I think, maybe, to get this in. So that goes in back. It's got to be just precise. Okay, just like that. There we go. So then you kind of see the rod there. Okay. I'll pop these back on just for the sake of being able to see it all together. Okay, 1 and 2. All right, now don't drop, please don't. I'm doing this all on camera. So now I've got to insert this down. Okay, so far so good. I think I'm a little bit off on the angle. It was a lot easier when I didn't have all this plaster on there because I could see the angle and I could kind of get it fit. There we go. I think it's going in. Nope. Yeah, okay, yeah, there we go. All right. So yeah, that's actually perfect. The height looks good. I can go down further, but it's actually kind of nice the way it is. I'm going to rotate this, kind of adjust the angle because that tube is inserted at a kind of like a 75-degree angle, so it's not vertical. Just by rotating it, you can change the pitch. So roughly, before this is even posed, it's just kind of hanging out. But his feet are just about an inch off of the base. So I think that's perfect. I was jokingly saying about this, you know, when I go to try to take this through the airport, whether or not TSA is going to try to figure out why I have a bunch of stuff that looks like bricks of contraband on this base, because I've never taken a plaster cast through customs before, so we shall see. But anyway, that is roughly how it's going to work. Of course, I've got a lot more accessories and stuff to put on here and pose it properly, but just for the sake of showing you guys what it's going to look like. There we go. Thanks, Angel. I think it's going to look pretty good too, especially when I start putting some color down. I think my next step is, after this cures tomorrow, I think what I'll do is I'll pull the tape, because I've got some gaps that I have to make up a thin mixture of this plaster again, and then kind of carefully either I might chip some of this away too, because some of these edges are kind of overhanging. They didn't quite go on exactly the way I originally placed them, so because there's a bit of a gap there, I might chip some of this away and fill in that that underside on the wood. And I can't get to now because the tape is there. And yeah, but I think that'll be probably the next step. Then if I do spilling at that point, I can easily clean it off of the wood. I just primarily wanted to use the tape, not so much to protect the stain and the finish, but to hold up any of that plaster from bleeding out as I poured it. So one thing I forgot to do, and I should have mentioned it too, and I actually forgot to do it, was this mold. I made up, this is an old bottle of Instaset, and I took a little bit of soap, dish soap, and some water, put it in here with a little pump sprayer. As I sprayed the surface of this mold first before, and it kind of helps as a mold release, even though they do still pop out pretty easily without doing that. It just helps keep it a little bit cleaner, I think. Yeah, see, this stuff's already set, and there's some little bubbles you can kind of see coming to the surface, but it's already solid enough that I can tip it and it doesn't fall out or pour out. So yeah, wet water. Just tell them it's C4. Yeah, sure, that'll work out. I don't want to end up in prison or airport jail while we're trying to get through. Just trying to get to California. That's all. So, but anyway, I guess I'll take this apart and I can show you what's going on with. Oops, I got some. That's one thing about this plaster. It gets everywhere. Got to be careful. When it's not fully set, it just rubs off on your fingers, and I actually touched the gun barrel to the side of something that had a big white mark on it, but fortunately it wipes off clean enough. So I'm going to carefully remove this from the base, and then I'll take it back apart here. Just give it a little twist. That helps loosen the grip on that tube and slide out. Come on, there we go. Okay. Now it's going to be a little bit tricky at times, but not too bad. I'll just pull straight down. Oh, come on. There we go. I like that fit though. It's really a snug enough fit that it it feels like it feels strong and doesn't worry me about it coming apart or anything. So I'm trying to get this off the back, trying to get his head off so I can lay this down again. Yeah, that's not exactly what I wanted, but this should come straight back. Ugh. You know what? I'm just going to leave that alone. I don't want to mess with that tonight. So I'm going to go put this back in the case. I'll be right back. Yeah, holding your breath. I know, me too. Every time I go to take it apart. Scary. Scary, scary. So, how's everybody's weekend? I know it's Sunday. Some of you guys have to go to work tomorrow. I'm actually off tomorrow, so started a new schedule now, which has me working 4 Saturdays in a row, and then I'm off for 8. So it's not too bad. It gives me fewer one-day weekends, even though I have to work a few more Saturdays in a row. But it's nice still having 2 days off after you get off on a Saturday. So I'm going to slide this back over, get this off the bench, let it cure. Right. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll show you too. With some of this, see if the light will adjust. You see this crack. There's actually a crack along the front here. That's right where I poured some of that thinner solution there. I'll have to fill that too, but that's easily take care of. I can do all those repairs once I pull the tape. So let's see what else is going on. Let's see. I got to look at the comments here. Building terrain. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm building an asteroid type surface. Bird training. Oh, you got bird training, huh? Are you going to one of those with the hawker groups, or are you just doing it by yourself? If any of you don't know, Angel is a master falconer. He's very good at what he does, and he handles wild birds and flies them, hunts them, does all sorts of cool stuff. So, anyway, who else is here? I got Drew and I got Angel. Who else is in the chat? Why don't you guys throw me a message? Let me know who's watching. I can't tell. I don't know about the YouTube side. If there's any comments there, I can't see them. I'm checking out that page right now. I got 2 watching. Oh, there is a chat section there too, but I don't see anybody on that. It's just coming straight through the StreamYard side. So anyway, what else is going on? I put aside the Valkyrie project to finish this base, and my wife made me this little rolling cart that I can roll stuff around in. I guess I could show you again where I'm at with the Valkyrie base. This haven't done much more progress with this. Still work in progress, but I think tomorrow, since I'm not doing much with the Hi NU base, since I'm letting that cure, it'll give me some time to paint the rest of these front pieces for this. This is the back wall. If you haven't seen it yet, this is the back wall. Once you go here, and get this thing out of the way. It's already, there we go. Now I got more room to work with. So there's the back wall and the side walls there. That's the way that will sit. I'm not attaching anything permanently because I want to be able to paint this stuff, but I'm at a point where I can start painting. So what I'd like to do is I pull these corners off, these corner sections, pre-shade all that, pre-shade the back wall, maybe the floor even. And then I think the only thing I got to do is really decide on a color. So what are you going to add LEDs? Oh, probably once I get it painted. Let's see, Liverpool with a few buddies. Oh, okay. Sorry, I skipped ahead. Nice. So you got a few of them. That sounds like fun. Anyway, to answer the question with the LEDs, there's going to be 6 of them here. You can see the holes 1, 2, 3 on this side. It's going to be 1, 2, and 3, and then 1, 2, 3 on this side. So I think once I get the corners and the walls painted and glued together, so they're no longer going to be coming apart, then I can start thinking about wiring. Because I also have to, have this hole here. When this back piece is on, this is where the high voltage card is going to be, and that's where my cable goes through. So all that's going to run to the back, and then I'll figure something out back here for a power supply. It's going to run on a single 9-volt, which should be fine. I usually bring, whenever I do these events, I bring several batteries just to keep swapping them out throughout the day so everything looks bright and nice and everything. I don't want, the worst thing would be like having somebody go to judge it and the lights go out or something like that. I did notice one thing. I was testing the Valkyrie with an older 9-volt. I thought it was a fairly good battery, but one of my running lights went out on one of the wings, and I thought I had a bad connection. And I thought, well, there's no way I can fix it now. I'm screwed. Well, as it turns out, it was just the battery was getting low, and that particular LED had the most resistance in that circuit, so it was the first to drop off. And I just put a different battery on it, and all of a sudden, boom, everything came back, and I was so relieved because I thought that'd be the first time I've ever had an LED fail on me, for whatever reason after assembling it, because I'm usually pretty careful about testing everything to make sure it's right before and everything works before I seal everything up. This has been weeks since I had those LEDs installed, and all of a sudden it was like, oh God, wings moved and broke a wire or made it loose. And I had all these thoughts going through my head. But hey, George, what is up, dude? It's so good to see you. How you doing, man? I don't know how much you missed or whatever. If you just joined me, I was showing off the plaster boarding process and making the base for the Hi NU. Excuse me. And I just put that aside because I'm letting it cure. Let me know if you want me to go back to it. I can bring it back out and show it off. But yeah, we're talking about the Valkyrie 2 and the Hi NU and all those things I'm doing. Oh, you're just joining? Okay. Well, let me show you this. I won't bring the Hi NU back out, but I'll show you the base part of it. So this is the. Let's see if we get the lights to kind of adjust. There we go. This is going to be my asteroid vase. This is a spare scrap piece of the acrylic rod that's just in place to keep that hole nice and clean. When I get ready to put the kit on, this is the actual mounting rod that will sink in and keeps the Hi NU about his feet. I think we measured it when I had it on here earlier. It was about an inch or so off the surface of this. So this is going to be painted like an asteroid. And I've actually got a couple of screenshots from a friend because I wasn't sure on the colors to do. So what I'll do is I'll show you guys if I can get it on my phone really quick. There was, here we go. So what I plan to do, let's see, there we go. And get the reflection. So this is it's kind of green and gray. There's a lot of there's a lot of different colors going on here. Thanks, George. Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, that's true. You can watch the beginning. I always forget that this is recorded. It'll be available later on. But I've also got this screenshot too, which has a little more green in it as well. That's a battle of the new with our right there. So I may go with that color scheme. I'm not sure if I like the green as much. I'm gray and brown, but I don't know. I guess when I start putting some washes down and do some darker colors first to get into all the deep spots and the grooves, and then I'll start dry brushing, doing other things to kind of highlight the higher areas, and then I guess I can figure out. I got a lot of washes. I got a lot of AK washes and stuff, and some green stuff in there. Like some of those colors are like for mossy green or algae and stuff like that. So there's some colors I can use to recreate that if I so choose to. But it's mostly just going to be a touch and feel as I start applying the colors to see what looks good, and then adapt and evolve from there. But he said tomorrow I think I'm going to pull the tape and then mix up a small batch of fairly thin plaster, and then I can fill in all of those gaps that are underneath. Maybe break some of the chisel. It remains soft enough that I can usually get away with using like a sculpting tool like this. That's what I stir my paint with most of the time, but I've been using it to kind of chisel away at these pieces and make them fit around certain things and fit together like a puzzle using those molds. Because the molds had this kind of, you could kind of imagine if you flip one of these around, is what I did is I had two of these, so I took one and turned it, and then this edge was kind of a nice edge that just fit together like a puzzle piece, and all I had to do was pour some plaster on it and fill it in. I'm just really hoping, my biggest fear is that it's not adhering properly to wood base. What I did before I started was I took some of this. This is like I don't know what the grit is on this. It's a pretty heavy grit with sandpaper, and it's made for like a handle, a tool that has a handle. I roughed up the surface really good, but I wasn't super happy with that. I didn't think it was going to be enough, so I actually just took my little pocket screwdriver here, and I just scored the wood in like a 3 different directions to get like a grilled diamond type pattern, just to have some deeper grooves in the wood, since the pine is pretty soft. was able to get through, and that was going to give some of that plaster something to grip onto. And then Angel helped me out because having never used this stuff before, I may have made it a little too thick, and then I didn't realize that when I was trying to stick it down, it wasn't bonding, and I was just going, oh god, what am I doing wrong? And then he said, just take a spray bottle and spray it down because the water it's porous enough, it'll seep through, and then it will glue to it. So that's what I did, and it seems pretty I mean, I can kind of wiggle it. It seems like nothing's moving. It feels pretty strong. I'm just hoping that it makes it through the travel process. That's the big thing. I'm going to pack it in a way. I'll probably put this on top just in case TSA decides to open things up and do a closer inspection on something that's solid and white. You could get my meaning. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I did that this afternoon. I have a little bit of a crack here. This is from when I poured the thinner split. You can see where it's separated from the original mold. That's an easy fix, though. I can actually fix that with paint colors, or maybe even some glue. Got some scenic glue as well, so that'll work. Or Elmer's glue, that'll probably work too. Right, Angie? I think you told me that. So right now it just looks like a pie. It looks like I'm carrying around a banana cream pie or something. Yeah. So yeah, glad you could join us, George. I use your stream sometimes as a podcast because I get up in the morning and I'm usually not up early enough, especially during the week, because you don't do them as long as you normally do on the weekend. So typically I don't get to see the live broadcast, but I'll put it on and just listen to it while I'm making my lunch and Mod Podge, yeah. And then sometimes I'll even have it running in the car and just have it connected to my Bluetooth and just do like a broadcast and listen to your show every day. But if anybody doesn't know George, Mr. Old School, man, us old guys got to stick together, right? The old guys in this hobby. Angel can identify this. He's a buddy of mine I've known for 25 years now. And yeah, but he's retired already, so he's got way more time to build. Well, at least he should. So he spends more time building around his house than building model kits. Cheers, everybody. Oh, that's just a little bit of nice whiskey from Kirkson Distillery here in Sultan. So how is that? I should ask George, how's that? Gosh, what are you working on? I can't remember the name of it. That javelin, or it's kind of like that big spear. I mean, what do you call that dang thing? I can't remember. Building and training, building and birds training. Yeah, I know. That's your main focus. You've been doing that for a long, long time. Probably longer than you've been building models. I don't know if I'm wrong in saying that, but I'm going to do a show and tell here because the other day we were at the hobby store and we found this little guy. Another one of the kits that I'm taking is going to be my Star Wars, my Mandalorian diorama that I made about a year or so ago. Actually, more than that, but I'll be taking that too and entering that longer. So, but anyway, we found this little guy at the store. And it was like an impulse buy. I was like, oh, gotta get it. Because one of the cool parts about it has both the 1/12 scale, right, or the 1/4 scale here, but it also has the 1/12 scale in the egg. So this will go along really nicely with the Mandalorian kit we have. This guy here. Kind of see the glare in. And it comes with different heads. It's kind of funny. Different size heads, and then there's also frog. Frog. Just the legs in a way because it's sticking out of his mouth. So there's like three or four different expressions that you can use on the head, and then for the smaller one, it's just one. Looks like just one head for that, but that's cool. So yeah, that was a funny kit. I think it'll be fun, nice, enjoyable thing to build sometime. Yeah, maybe. Oh, so if anybody's wondering what I'm talking about, if you haven't seen it, I'll go grab it out of the case and bring it over here. And tell today. So here comes. I gotta be careful because these guys are not glued down. So this is. Yeah, this goes right about there. I have to turn it to keep it in the case because this sticks out over the edge. So yeah, there we go. Spin them around here. You guys can see season 1, episode 8, Mandalorian with little baby Yoda here. Another friend of mine, he 3D printed this head for me. And what's funny about that is he had printed 2, saying that scale was slightly larger than 112. But if you look at this kit, you see the head. You see the small head is right there. It's just about the same time. So I think he nailed it as far as the scale is concerned. They had 2, and one of them was slightly smaller, but it was just 2 small. I thought the bigger one just looked nicer anyway. So this is also what I'll be taking with me. But these aren't attached. They do swivel. These guys aren't attached. They're just hanging onto the bag. So this will be a lot easier for me to pop these off, wrap them up, do whatever I got to do. I've got a flat base here, which will fit anywhere in the box. I'm going to take these in a plastic container with a bunch of foam, just hand cut pieces of foam. Makes it a lot easier to, especially when it's clear on the sides too. So TSA, they can see everything that's inside there without any issues. And most of the time, they just look at me because it's a model kit or something. I see a little guy in there, like, all right, it's a model kit, whatever. But yeah, so I'll enter this in the Star Wars category, and yeah, and we'll put the other one on the Gundam stuff. So this was a fun project. I had a good time doing this. Originally, I just had the Scout Trooper, and then once I saw that episode, I got the idea to do this type of a diorama. So I had to buy a second Scout Trooper, and then a lot of the extensive work I did with these guys, because they're not just straight built troopers, and I'm going to pick one up here to show you. First off, the knee archer is reversed because that's what they did in the episode. They actually had the knee upside down, so I cut these and modified them so they would fit upside down. And then the biggest thing that I did was I used epoxy putty on all the joints. So none of these joints move anymore except for the hips and the shoulders. Only because I wanted them to look like, I guess, more realistic. Because these figure kits that they make, that Bandai makes, these 112 figure kits, they're not exactly. They're kind of strange looking because those joints are more like a ball joint. It's kind of like the way an action figure would be made if you bought it in the store. So yeah, these guys here. Yeah, so that's what I did. I filled in all the joints. I had to make sure I posed them in the right spot first, and then I glued them in that pose. And then I just worked each joint with the epoxy putty, sculpted it, painted it, put armor on, Yeah, don't hit the baby. Yeah, don't punch the baby. I should call this. Don't punch the baby. I think he goes right about there. His hand fits perfect. I had to pose these. Like I said, I actually posed them and then I glued them in this while they were on this base. I was gluing all the joints with super glue just so I could take them apart without you know, messing up or moving their pose, their position. So I think it goes. Actually, not the wrist. I think the wrist. Oh, the wrist does move. Okay, so the wrist also moves, and that was for this very reason, was to make sure that the angle's right and the grip is right on the bags. So yeah, it'd be nice for everybody to see this, because originally the only time I entered this was in an online competition. That's the only time anybody's ever seen it. That was a Star Wars, the Bandai competition for Star Wars, and this ended up winning that competition. And I was supposed to go to California. They were supposed to send me to Star Wars Celebration, but it was right during the pandemic, the first year, so that got canceled. And of course, the next year it got canceled. And this year came along, and they said, "Okay, we can send you," and they gave me literally less than a week to figure out if I was going to go. That was it was kind of ridiculous. Like, okay, here's the day you're going to go. Let us know if you want to go. I'm just like, ugh. So what happened was I actually took the took the prize package. They gave me choice. I could either go to California, fly me down there, or I could take an alternate prize package valued at what the trip would normally be. So that's what I ended up doing. And they sent me like 50, was it 50? 40? A lot of Star Wars model kits. They sent me a ton of them. And a lot of them are the little tiny ones, the small little 1/4 scale stuff. But they did send me special edition PG Falcon. They sent me a 1/6 scale, the black Stormtrooper. Not the ones in not the newer ones, but it's just basically the same armor as the regular Stormtroopers, but the black armor. I can't remember what they're called, but sent me one of those and a couple other 1/4 scale stuff. B-wing, another B-wing, stuff like that. But I still have a 1/2 scale BB-8 too that I want to build. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, so that's what's going on this bench. Not a whole lot else to talk about, because I've been struggling with time to build that base. Once you get to a point like this where you put those pieces down, and now I got to let it sit there and cure. I can't, as much as I want to start painting it, I can't. I gotta set it aside and not do anything. So I'm gonna pop this back in the case. I'll be right back. Very carefully. The big thing is not to tip it. These guys can stand up on their own just fine, but if you tip it, that's when they go flying. So, okay. Yeah. So who's all here besides Angel, George, and Lucas? I think it's Lucas, right? Or Drew, excuse me, Drew's here. Lucas was here last week. He might be here this week. He's not talking if he is. Ask me a question. Give me something to talk about, boys. Because I'm kind of at a point where I'm trying to figure out what I can do. I want to keep working on stuff. I guess I could pop this back over and see if there's any other fit issues I got to do with it. I kind of got these set aside already. These are the corner pieces here. Let's see. This is that one goes this side, I think. Oops. So side. Oh, that's the right side. Yeah. Okay, so no, that goes over here. Goes there. This one goes here. But I can't put those on either until I glue these down. But then, of course, I can't do that until I paint it. So also, I'm going to put like a big number here on the back of this door. The bottom, well, it's flimsy. Are you planning on setting a wood frame? Oh, this part? Come on, this? This is actually pretty stiff. I mean, it flexes a little bit because it's just so large, but all these pieces are, these are all glued together now. It was even more kind of flimsy before I glued everything, but once this thing, once the back is also anchored on, it'll be even stronger. But it's not too bad. I don't think I need to mount. I might, but I don't know if I need to. I mean, I guess it would, if I found a piece of wood around the same size that had a nice border to it, that might work. Because I filled all these gaps in, all these little pieces, because it looked like this with all these little holes everywhere, all the way around. It looked like that around the hole. You can see them here, especially. But the reason those aren't filled in is because when the walls are here, these locking tabs lock it in place. So I filled all those in to kind of get the edges looking nice. So you kind of see that. See, there's no more edges there. And I don't care if it has a little bit of irregularities because it is essentially a hanger floor. So there's going to be seams and cracks and stuff. So are you transporting the diorite as one piece, or will you build? You talking about this one or the Hi NU, Drew? If you're talking about this one, it's going to be one piece. Because I don't see, I don't know. I wanted to, I'd like to think that I could both. Okay, well, no, when I go on my trip, that's why I made this. I'll start with the Hi NU. That's why I made this removable, because I want to I got to be able to take it apart and flat pack it really, and then I'll assemble the Hi NU there on site. This, on the other hand, it's iffy. I'd love to be able to set it up, but the problem is I got so many different little things going on the floor that it'd be easier to glue it down to the base. I mean, I'm never going to be rocking it or tipping it or doing anything like that. So I think it's probably better to anchor it down. And then, of course, I've got these little 48 scale wheel chocks. See them down here at the bottom of the bag, but I'm going to put those on the rear wheels, maybe even one front, and that will give the wheels a little bit more surface area to grip when I problem is my cable comes off, it goes through the high voltage cart, and then it's going through the floor here, so I can't really lift all. Once that's all attached, I'd have to transport the Valkyrie to that as a piece too, because they're glued together. I did make this for an IC connector, so I can connect it if I had to. So I suppose I could do it, but another reason is what you saw a couple episodes ago. What you may have seen was a piece of this roof fell off and knocked the canopy off, and that's why I don't like moving that Valkyrie around much. If I put it here and glue it down, I think it would be better. Just so there's nothing moving around. I don't want to be able to be moving that Valkyrie around too much because there's so many little. Having the canopy open, it's very delicate. Those hinges are real small, and it was a pain about to glue it. And then when I knocked it off, I re-glue it, and it took me 3 tries again because you glue it and it's a little bit crooked or it's angled a little, it's not straight. I know if I go to an IPMS event, they're going to tear it apart if they find a canopy that's crooked. Those guys are looking at aircraft all day long. So I don't know. It's a good question, Drew, because I think it would be easier or better to have it glued down, but then again, I don't know. I've never done anything like this with the Valkyrie before, so I'm really just trying to figure it out as I go. Anyhow, but yeah, transporting the stuff, especially on a plane. I mean, in a car is one thing, definitely not as hard, but on a plane, you really gotta pack everything nicely. Because I don't give any of my stuff to the hands of a TSA agent. I don't put anything in a bag that's going to go under the plane. Anything I'm taking, any of my kits, they're all going to be on my person at all times. So if anything happens, it's my responsibility. Last time I went to California, I took the 120 scale. Yeah, we're flying down. If I was driving, it would be way easier. Be way easier to transport this stuff because I can car enough without having to worry about. But I got to put it in a box. I'm going to be using a clear snap lid. They're actually really nice box. But when I took the 120 Gerwalk to California, I had to figure out a way to put that in a carry-on suitcase. Small enough to be carry-on, but it was still a hard case. And Angel let me actually borrow one. So we tried one that I had and one that he had. His was slightly bigger inside. It had just a little bit bigger interior. So when I built that, I made it modular. I did all the wiring with IC connectors so I could take the wings off and I could take the canopy off and the cockpit section off. I could take the legs off. You want to talk about nerve-wracking? Try setting that up in a big room where everybody's watching you when you're trying to set up a 120 Durable. Everybody's going, "Oh God, what's he doing?" And then you got Clem in your ear trying to mess with you and screw with you when you're trying to set it up. And I was like, "Dude, you need to go away. This is not the time. You guys can jack with me later." I actually had people helping me hold sections up so I could plug the IC connectors in before I had to actually build. As a result of traveling with that, and I didn't notice it until after I got home, that one of the barrels on the cannon for the super pack was actually damaged. So I didn't know when it happened, but I did go back through my photographs of the event and I saw the damage while it was on the table. So it had to have happened when I was flying down. Something when I packed it, because I literally had to put it in like a puzzle. It was just like I had stuff wrapped in bubble wrap, and yeah, it was nerve-wracking to say the least. But it was a big kit, and it was hard to get down there. But I managed to pull it off, and everybody was happy to see it. So I was happy to show it. So yeah. So this is going to come off because that's separate. There we go. So that's the roof panel. There's two LEDs there. You can see they're going to go. And then these guys, say, see that. So then there's going to be one LED here and one here. So it'll kind of light up this back area pretty nicely, I think. I think tomorrow what I'll do until I'm ready to pull the tape on that base is I'm going to start painting some of this. So I finished priming this because those were the last piece that I finished. They had some pins. One of the things I did with this was there were some pins that stick out of these struts, but they just weren't. I can't see them. They weren't very long, so this piece on the front would kind of fall off, and that's what happened while I was trying to demonstrate it the other day and broke the canopy off the Valkyrie. But so I drilled them out and I used some 1/8 inch. I guess would be. Is it 1/8 inch? I don't know. What is it right here? Yeah, 1/8 inch rod. Drilled them out, and then I made them longer so these will go down really nice and sturdy. When is the contest? In November. Weekend of. Giving away too much information. Let's see. It is November 12th. So yeah, we'll be flying down on Friday before, and then we'll be staying at the Marina Inn in the Dana Point Harbor, drinking Mai Tais every night. And then Saturday, I'll get up and drive up to Pomona to the event. See everybody. Hopefully surprise everybody who doesn't know I'm coming, because I haven't made it very vocal that I'm going. But I suppose if any of the important people in charge are watching, then I guess the cat's out of the bag. But a few members down there know that I'm showing up. I've only told the closest friends to me down there that I'm coming. So yeah, we're gonna make a weekend of it, and we'll come back Monday. I fly down on Friday, stay for the weekend, screw around some old stomping ground areas, and then fly back Monday morning. Or late Monday. Not late Monday, no, late morning, I think. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we're doing. It's gonna be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be nice seeing some people I haven't seen in a while. That's why I was asking George if he was going, because I really wish he could go. It'd be nice. I've never met him in person. Last time I went, I was able to meet a lot of people that we used to do these videos with. Julio, I think Frankie was there. A lot of guys that we've been online with. We just, that live in most of the back east states, like Baltimore or New Jersey, New York. Those guys all flew in. It was fun to see those guys. It was cool. And hang out with some old friends too in the process. So how was New York Comic Con, George? I think you went, right? If I'm not mistaken. Already read that. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, we're still. Oh yeah. Okay. So the comments cross over between the pages, so they're not missing anything on the YouTube side. So just making sure. I wasn't sure if there was going to be separate comments over there, but it looks like because it's going through StreamYard that both sites are getting the same information. So good to go. Well, yeah. So what else you got for me? Let's see. I don't want to press those tabs. I'm going to sit. While I think this through. That's going to fit there. What's George's page? Old School Gunpla. You'll find him on Instagram. He doesn't have, I don't think he's got a Facebook page. Well, he's got his private account, his personal account, but not an actual build page. If you want him on Instagram, look for Old School Gunpla. There you find all of George's videos and also an amazing builder, I must say. Does a lot of like scratch building and detail modification. I think it's a good way to put it. A lot of times, especially like you can identify this because we've all been there, where you go, oh, I'm just going to do a straight build. I'm not going to do anything fancy to it. And then you start scribing some lines and you start doing other stuff or putting LEDs in it, modifying this, and pretty soon your straight build just turned into a nightmare. But that's just what we do as we get older and more experienced in the hobby, you tend to push yourself and your limits because you can't. For me, I have a hard time just doing straight builds anymore. So I might snap together a kit at a build gathering for lack of having what I'm currently working on being able to really do anything remotely like that on a at a different build event or different location. A lot of times you can't take your current project with you, so I take something and just snap together. So I can do that, but when it comes to sitting down and whatever's on the bench at home, I end up complicating things and making them more complicated, for lack of a better term, right? There he is. And maybe Ethan. Wait, would you plan a video with Ryan? Oh, sure. Yeah, we can do that one of these, especially with StreamYard. I can bring it up to 10 now. I upgraded my account. That's why I'm able to broadcast on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. Actually, I can broadcast on 3 locations, to be honest, but I just don't have a third one at the moment. But I don't know if Twitch or one of those others is something that I can use. But yeah, I think we could set up and have some. We can bring people in and have multiple screens going. That's what we used to do. We had Tim Harkins, Child of Mecca. He was hosting for the longest time, and we'd have up to 10 people in the room. I don't want to do that. I think it'd be nicer to have a couple people and maybe some guest spots show up and have a room with a few people in it, not too overly crowded, and have another have a bigger discussion with what we're currently working on. That'd be fun. George might be able to. He might want to come in too. Maybe if it's not too late for him in the back East Coast time. Because right now it's 10 o'clock for him. Yeah. So, cheers, everybody. Oh, that's good. Just warms the heart. If you're saying thank you, George, you're welcome. You deserve it, man. You've done a lot for this community, and now you've got your IPMS chapter that you're helping run. If I'm not mistaken, aren't you the president now? Yeah, it would be fun. Aren't you the president of your chapter, your current IPMS chapter? I never did join the one in California. When we were down there, we had Orange County IPMS, and never did join that. Of course, I was real busy. Oh, shit. Wow. See that? Those can move. So I'm gonna have to reglue that. Okay. Good enough. Never considered it, but I was also busy with the Gundam guys. When I was a member of those Gundam guys, we were always promoting the SCGMC event and doing build gatherings with everybody in person. We were actually, Pet, you're our president. That's what I thought. That's cool. Patriot. Sounds awesome. But we were doing build gatherings over at Clem's house, and guys, you'd have 18, 20 people there sometimes, just living rooms or bedroom, in his living area. He had a big dining room area that he would set up, and it was fun. We got room for it. So if you got the space, man. But yeah. I don't know. We'll hopefully someday get back to that stuff. It's just with all this COVID crap going around, and everybody. Some people are still very, very, very leery about being in tight spaces with people for any length of time. That unless they're in your circle and you've known them for years, that's one thing. But it's hard to. I went to. for a barbecue, for lack of a better term. It was actually like a crawfish boil at a friend's house. It was actually a friend of a friend of my brother, really. And turns out somebody there, they were exposed and showed up anyway. So pissed a bunch of people off. Fortunately, nobody that we know, including myself and my wife, had any issues with it. But yeah, that guy got blackballed for sure, for being stupid and selfish. That's the big thing. It's like no concern for anybody else. So, but I got a month or so. Today's the 9th, right? Yeah. So yeah, I got just about a month to finish that base. Seems like a long time, but time flies. It creeps up on you. So that's why I'm trying to get ahead of this thing and get it done. So today, hopefully, those plaster pieces bond properly, and I'm able to start painting in a day or so. Sharing the love and the hobby is where it's at. Yeah, you bet. I miss that. That's why. I mean, it's not the only reason, but seriously, so yeah, it was a selfish move. That's why I really miss like Tim and those guys, because it was almost every other week. I mean, we were doing Mechanism as episodes every 2 weeks, and it was a fun way to get a bunch of people together and just talk about stuff and show off what you're doing, and talk about what you're building, and answer questions and do all that. It was cool. So, I've been thinking about doing broadcasts and stuff, because a lot of people do ask me, do you have a video, a tutorial, or anything? And the answer is really no, I don't. I don't do video tutorials because I work all day, every day, and this is what I do in my spare time. I don't have a lot of time to sit down and edit videos and stuff. So that's just for me anyway. Yeah, me too. I hope Mechanism returns. Sounds like Tim's he's popping up more and more, and he's putting more stuff out there, and he's starting to advertise stuff again. So it sounds like he's slowly getting his foot back in it. So we'll see. I want to see that third episode of his new work. So he supposedly has that up for Patreon now. And it'll be available to us, I think, tomorrow, the 10th. I think tomorrow. I'll have to look at his post, but yeah, I want to see that video. I'm dying to see what he's done, because when he first bought that house, he was talking about his new workshop. Excuse me, and how he was going to change it and redid the floor and all that stuff. So yeah, it'd be cool. Cool to see him get back into it, especially after all he's been through in this last couple of years too. Anyhow, yeah. So, anything else in my backlog I need to talk about? Anything else you guys want to see? I'm in my tutorials are effort. Yeah, I appreciate those all the time, but yeah, me neither. I know what you mean, George. It's especially when you got a regular job and working normal hours, whatever day that is. I mean, I get up pretty early in the morning, but that's just because I like to get ahead of traffic when I'm going to work. So sometimes I get up earlier than I probably need to. But now that my wife works from home, and she works for a company that is East Coast time, so she's got to start work at 5 a.m. here, because that's 8 o'clock back in New Jersey or wherever I think that's where they're stationed. So I just get up at 4:30. She's up at roughly around 4 or 4:15. And I get up at 4:30, and then I get on the road about 5:15, and I'm I sit in the parking lot for a little bit, but at least I'm ahead of some of that stupid traffic. If I wait just 30 minutes, there's so many more idiots on the road. So that's what I do. And then I get up at 3:30 and I come home, and I can't spend all my time up here. So a lot of times I get a little bit done during the week. So sometimes 5 a.m. to start. Oh, you talking about for my wife? Yeah, well, because the company is back east. She works from home, so they start at 8 o'clock. Well, that's 5 a.m. here. So yeah, but she gets off at 1:30 in the afternoon. So there's an upside to that. She's done super early. But yeah, she got used to it. At first, it was kind of hard. She was like, I don't know if I can do this. But I was already getting up at 4:30 anyway, even before she got that. Just move east. We like it here in the Pacific Northwest, man. Washington's beautiful. I don't know. It's too. Well, if you go east, then you got to go north, so it's not as hot, right? Because I don't want to go to an eastern state where it's all sweaty and mosquitoes that look like small birds flying around, Alabama or something, or the Carolina. It's just too much humidity. I mean, at least here we have 4 actual seasons. You know, and when I was in California for a majority of my adult life, the state was on fire half the time. Half of the, most of the half the year the state's on fire. There's fires going everywhere. I mean, there's fires here in Washington too right now that are pretty bad, but we definitely don't see it like we did in California, and we don't have as many earthquakes, at least that we can feel in Washington, that we did in California. So I don't miss that. I don't miss that at all. But yeah, originally I moved up here. I hear Massachusetts is awesome. Cool steel bars. Oh, all right. Not even sure where. See, I'm horrible at geography. Where Massachusetts? Where is that? What is that near? Let's see where. Let's look at the map. I'm gonna have to find this on the map now. Massachusetts. Oh, there we go. I don't want massage. Oh, right. That's shit. That's right above New York. That's even further up than I thought. But are you in New York? Or are you in Maryland? Or New Jersey? No, you're in Jersey, right? New Jersey? Kidding aside, Washington sounds like a great. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not perfect. Every state's got its issues for sure. Um, Politically and all that other crap, but we don't have sales. I mean, we don't have. Excuse me. We don't have state tax here, which is kind of nice. And it does seem like our dollar goes further. Yeah, you're in Massachusetts. Okay, gosh, I thought you were. I thought you were in Jersey. Oh, that's cool. That's why you want me to go there. You just want another old guy to work with. At least I know where to come visit. So if you drive to like New York, you got to go through Connecticut. How long does that take you? I mean, you were talking about this morning how you don't like really driving through New York. I mean, so you've driven down there in a day, or is that just like a 2-day road trip or something like that? Angels up here in Washington too. Yeah, originally I came up here for work with, of course, my wife and kids, but 5 hours. Well, that's not too bad. It's still more than I want to drive in a day, but 5 hours is still doable. It was. I mean, we're just south of Canada, so but it still took me 2.5 hours to get to where I was going when I went up to Canada at the time. Shortly after we moved here, I went to one of the Canadian anime events up there. I was invited by a friend to go stay at his house and help put on a weathering demo at Anime Revolution. That was 6 years ago almost. So that was about 6 years. Well, about 6 years. It was shortly after we moved. We moved up here in October 16. So we're in October now. So right, yeah, it's been about 6 years. So how time flies. So let's see, what else can I talk about? got these Reed Oak. I'm checking their website lately. These guys, the Reed Oak, bright lights I got here. Reed Oak composite. Yeah, these are printed, 3D printed figures. Um, they're really amazing. They're printed composite rubber, and I've talked about them before. I've go to Canada often. No, I've only been one. I haven't been there since, and of course, since pandemic. You can start going now, but for a couple of years, they weren't letting anybody in. You couldn't even drive across the border. They were like, "Hey, stay out," you know. But I think you can't go there now. You just have to have your PAX cards and stuff. But I'm not certain on that, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, well, I've been there the once. That was fun. I'd like to do it again. My wife used to. She told me stories when she was a kid. Her parents used to go through was it Victoria in in Vancouver. So she's more familiar actually with the area than me. But I think it'd be cool to go back up there and go to Anime Revolution again, or see the boys up there with Van Pla and those guys like. Oh gosh, now I forgot his name. See, this is what I got when I want to bring somebody up. I forget who I'm talking about. I'll remember. Anyway, get back to these Reed Oak figures. They 3D printed figures. They print them in composite rubber, and they use actual live models that are digitally scanned into the computer and then printed. So the details are phenomenal. There is a little bit of cleanup work when you get them, but I haven't seen anything that I could say matches that type of detail with them. I bought a Hasagawa set of. It was just a set of flight crew for in 1/48 scale, and they were just. No, those aren't Macross figures. These are actual U.S. Navy flight crew members. Like this is be modern U.S. Navy crew, and then it says kneeling, three hands on munition, or kneeling. I don't know why it says three hands, but it says hands on munitions. So they make them in certain poses, but do not copy. Made in France by Reed Oak. Yeah, it takes a while to get them, but man, they are amazing. But no, these are just like I said, they're U.S. Navy flight crew guys. Like originally, I was going to use them with the F-14 build that I did. The Tamiya F-14. That was also 1/48 scale. But when I started building this diorama with the hanger, I thought, why not? I can paint them in a way that looks more, that looks like not a generic crew member on a ship or something. It doesn't have to be U.S. Navy. I'm not doing a U.S. Navy build. You know what? I'll probably take some heat over it, but whatever. My diorama, I do what I want. Although I did have I got some 3D printed Macross figures, yes, but not from Reed Oak. The 3D printed figures I got from Shapelings, and those guys. Let me just grab one real quick. Grab a couple. So here is. Let's see, let me just move this out of the way. So, okay, so this is the Macross figure here. There's him. That's the pilot that I'm going to be using on this one. Eventually, I'll take it off of the base. And stand him up on his own feet. But I'm only doing that so I can paint on well. Here's one of the Reed Oak. Let's see if I can get that to focus. So close. so close to focus. And that's pretty good there. Now this guy is standing up. He's got his goggles on top of his head, his headphones on. And we got this little guy who is kneeling. He's got one hand down. There we go. One hand on the ground. You can see the fingers. See the microphone? Everything is separate. They're just unbelievably detailed. And they're printed upside down. That's the tricky part, because they come with like this little umbrella on top with all the little supports. So you got to carefully kind of clip off those little supports. But I mean, it's just crazy that microphone boom that comes out is a separate. I mean, it was all part of the same print. I didn't attach that or glue it on. It was already there. It just had a little support hole, then I had to kind of clip it off. Put that on. But they are amazing. That's just a couple of them. I bought 5 of them, I think. 5 or 6. I got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I got 5 of them. And one guy's kneeling down, kind of like this guy, but he's got his hands out. Like I said, this is actually a picture of what's inside. So one guy kneeling, his hands out. I'm going to put him underneath where the gun pod is. Then I got the supervisor here just watching everybody else work. All right. Or we got this guy. He's another supervisor. Got his arms crossed, watching everybody work. Then we got this guy here. Could be looking in the avionics bay or something else. Have his hands on something else. And then there's another guy on down with his hand on the ground. I might put him on the step ladder next to the cockpit. So that's the plan. But I really like these. I still got to clean them up a little bit. I after I primed them, I could see where some of those little nubs were from the umbrella. There's like a little the umbrella above them. A bunch of little supports. But I have to go through and sand those off. Then I should be able to start painting these guys. But I think I'll put them in something blue or dark gray. I was looking at the screenshot that I got I was originally looking for someone with the wheel chocks like this. And he's wearing blue, so I might do them in like a blue. Yeah, like these guys, pull the wheel chocks out from the aircraft. So, but he's also got camo, but I'm not going to do them in camo because obviously we're not military in the sense of modern military. This is Macross after all. So I think most of their crew were just wearing some kind of gray flight suit or some kind of gray working. So, but it's kind of cool because this one stands on his own, and with his fingers down, he's literally stands up. This one's leaning a little bit, so he doesn't want to. But most of them that are designed to stand there will stand on their own feet without. And they didn't have a base on them. They were just printed that way. So they're probably printed upside down. So the shoes and the soles of the shoes, everything are all there. This one's just kind of leaning already because it's kind of pushing on something. So this is really nip on. What do you want, DJ? Would you? Oh, he sent me. I'll have to look at that later. He just sent me a video on a Kids Logic one, so I gotta check it out now and see what's going on. Do what you want. Yes, we do what we want. We've earned the right to do what we want, right? We're all adults now. We work hard. We do what we want. Well, guys, I'm getting up here close to an hour and a half. I think that's typically where I end most of these videos. Sorry I didn't have as much to talk about this time around. I was trying to do these once a week on Sundays, and sometimes it's hard to get a shitload of content available to put out there. So I thought I would last longer, but I blasted through everything I wanted to show you guys, and so I kind of put it out there to the room. But, anyway, we will catch you next week, Sunday. Again, this is Mike Wine, aka Gundamonium Works. Thanks everyone for coming and stopping by and saying hi. For those that did, we will catch you next time, next Sunday. Hopefully next time. I don't think I'm going to be out of town, but for the most part, I'll be doing these at the same time, once a week. Get you caught up where I'm at with my projects. So, talk to you soon, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Have a great afternoon. Have a great night. Be good humans. You bet, George. See you tomorrow. I'll watch your stream when I get up because I'm off tomorrow, so I'm not going to get up early, but I'll definitely watch it after I get up. I got my notifications on my phone set up since George started a live video, so I get to watch it. Anyway, be good humans. Talk to you soon.